also has said that they expect new data for 2 to 4-year-old children, I believe, 5-year-old children by March. What is the new timeline here for so many parents that are wondering when they're going to be able to get these shots now?
You know, Gabe, I think like we've seen, once it gets into the FDA's hands and their advisory committee meets and the CDC's advisory committee meets shortly thereafter, provided that it was, that an authorization was actually granted, it goes quickly. They already had, the United States right now already had, I think, about 10 million doses that they were ready to deploy if this approval went through. So I certainly, as a parent, I can understand the frustration. I have kids who are both vaccinated as teenagers. I can understand the frustration. On the other hand, if we're saying we really want to, quote unquote, follow the science, it's become a mantra, then following the science really does mean waiting until we have all the information.
Look. And really quickly, Dr. Azar, one quick point. Hospitalizations went up in younger kids last month with the rise of Omicron. Yes. Now we've got at least 10 states dropping mask mandates before the CDC actually recommends it. So what would you tell concerned parents about what they should expect in the coming weeks with the relaxation of some of these restrictions, and now no vaccine, at least in the short term, for these youngest kids?
Right. Well, this has been the concern, right? Even the concern for ages 5 to 11, that only 22% of that population is vaccinated. Hence the pushback against relaxing a lot of these mandates. At the end of the day, a mandate that's coming from the state, or relaxing of a mandate coming from the state, doesn't need to necessarily affect local guidance. A lot of school districts have said, okay, for example, here in New Jersey, where I live, our school district has said, we understand that our governor will relax the mandate as of the second week of March. We're going to wait until that moment to determine whether that's right for our community and our students. So if you're in an area that still has substantial or high transmission, if you don't have high vaccination rates in your community, that is up to your local school districts to make that decision about whether or not masks will still be required. And to all parents out there, I know how not fun it is to have your kids wearing masks, but they can still wear their masks, if they are not vaccinated for that extra protection. They don't need to stop wearing it.
Dr. Natalie Azar, still a lot of uncertainty for some parents 2 years into this pandemic. Dr. Azar, thanks so much. Breaking tonight, right now, as we're coming on the air, President Biden will speak tomorrow with Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's as the White House is issuing a dire warning to Americans in Ukraine. Get out now, because Russia could invade at any moment. The State Department issuing this urgent message saying any citizen in the country needs to leave by any means necessary. The U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan saying moments ago that's got to happen ASAP.
We want to be crystal clear on this point. Any American in Ukraine should leave as soon as possible, and in any event in the next 24 to 48 hours. The risk is now high enough, and the threat is now immediate enough, that this is what prudence demands.
And Sullivan says if you're an American in Ukraine and you decide to stay, the risk is yours. Because as President Biden told Lester Holt in an exclusive NBC News interview, the U.S. military is not coming to get you.
What scenarios would you put American troops to rescue and get Americans out?
There's not. That's a world war when Americans and Russians start shooting at one another.
So to be clear, there is no plan right now for the U.S. to send in troops into Ukraine, even if there's a Russian invasion. But Sullivan says the West is more united than it's been in years on this issue. And today, the president spoke with 10 allies to get on the same page. You see them here. One of them, the UK's Boris Johnson, saying in a readout of that call, he fears for the security of Europe. We've got Aaron McLaughlin live on the ground for us in Kyiv in just a second, but I want to start at the White House with Josh Lederman. Josh, these are the starkest warnings from the White House yet, but Sullivan didn't exactly give any specifics as to why this tone has changed so drastically over the last 2 days, right?
That's right. The National Security Advisor understandably didn't want to go into a lot of detail about the types of U.S. intelligence that have led the U.S. to now be saying that an invasion could actually start before the Olympics are over, roughly 9 days from now. But the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, said, look, you can see a lot of this out in the open. Take a look at satellite images that have shown the Russian military buildup, now well more than 100,000 troops on Russia